So over the past few days on Reddit, there has been a lot of discussion about the all-in-one liquid-cooled video cards. Those would be things like the MSI Seahawk, the EVGA Hybrid, as well as the hybrid kit you could put on a Founders Edition card. And a lot of that discussion revolved around the pump noise that can come from these video cards. And for those who don't know, the gist of it is there is a small impeller that sits in the block on the video card, and that spins at 1500 RPM or so. And what that does is it circulates the fluid throughout the cooling system for the video card. And the question or concern has been, since this thing is spinning, how much noise does it make, and could it be louder than an air-cooled card? So what I wanted to do is create a video that can hopefully help answer some of these questions for you, so you can make a purchasing decision whether you want to try a hybrid or go with a standard air-cooled card. Before we get into some of the sound demos, I wanted to at least maybe set the table. These hybrid cards, they have a water pump, and it will make some level of noise. There's kind of no getting around that. It's an object, it's a mechanical object, it's spinning, it's rotating all the time, idle, load, whatever, it is going to be spinning. This is in contrast to some of the more modern air-cooled cards, which turn the fan off completely when idling. They go at 0 RPM. So when you compare an object that is spinning compared to an object that's sitting idle, the one spinning is going to make more noise. There's no getting around that. The distinction I think that'll be important to make is just how much noise, and is it bad enough to where I should stick to an air-cooled card or not. The other important thing to consider is, what about load? Because that is where an air-cooled card can get noisy, right? When it's under load, it has to spin the fans to dissipate the heat. What about under load? How does it compare? So again, what I'll try to do with this video is go over a few different scenarios, load, idle, a few different distances with the side panel on and off, and hopefully that can help answer your question. The one thing I did also want to say is I did a little bit of testing before I started this video, and what I did notice was there was a change in noise from idle and load. So what I believe that is coil whine. I believe there is some level of coil whine in my system. I hadn't noticed it until I started this test and listened for it. So with the idle and load testing, you should be able to hear some of the differences. So let's start with some of the sound stuff. This is a 1080 Ti Hybrid SC2, as I mentioned before. This is it was pre-built from EVGA, so this wasn't a kit added to a Founders Edition. This is as it is. I never have taken it apart to change anything. All I had done in terms of modifications was change out the stock fan to some Corsair high static fans to help, I guess, with the cooling and noise. All of the fans in the system, I guess besides the CPU fan, is connected to a fan controller. I have the fans set to pretty low. I prefer the computer being pretty quiet. Hopefully we can pick up on some of the video card noises. It'll be hard to tell if the mic will pick it up, but at least listening to it, there certainly is some noise coming from the card. Anyway, let's just get on with the testing. So right now I'm about 2 feet away from the video card, and what I'll do is I will stop talking, let you listen, and I'll bring it in within various distances, and you can listen for yourself. So this is about 2 feet away. This is probably not quite a foot away. And this is probably about 3 to 4 inches away. This is about 2 feet away. And by the way, this is under load. So this is the superposition benchmark. It's been running for quite some time. So everything you've heard in the video so far was the video card under load. So this is about as loud as it gets. There's There's no additional, the fans don't ramp up anymore. I have it set to a fan controller. This is the noise level. What I'll do is I'll put the side panel back on. Let's see if I can do that gracefully with just one hand. So far, not really. Okay. Sorry for the mess of cables. And right now, we are probably about 2 feet away from the side of the case. Now we're about 1 foot away. And now we're probably about 2 inches from the case and probably about 6 inches from the video card. Okay, and then one thing before we do the idle testing is I'll show you what some of the clocks and temps are. So again, this is the superposition benchmark. It's been running for over 30 minutes now. So the radiator is well saturated. These are the temps and clocks. So this is pretty much what I run all the time. This is my 24/7 setup. Power increase, voltage increase, GPU overclock, CPU overclock, and my radiator fan set to pretty quiet using the fan controller. If I was really picky about temps, you can get it a little bit lower. I can kick on the radiator fans. I can kick on the side panel fans. The extra, whatever, 5, 6C, whatever it ends up being, isn't really all that important to me. What was more important to me was the noise level. So I have it set to low. It's under 60C, which is perfectly fine. Well within the operating range for the video card. So this is again the rig. We're probably about 3 feet away from it now. I don't know if you can hear it. And what I'll do is I will take the side panel off. Let's see if I can do that here. And then I will have the camera up close to it. Right now it's under load, and then I will end the benchmark, and hopefully you can actually hear the difference in the noise it makes going from load to idle. And that goes back to what I believe is the coil line. Maybe it's pump, I don't know. But it's I think it's coil line because it's load. And I don't think the pump spins at a different rate based on load. So here we go. So I will bring it within probably a good 2 or 3 inches. See if we can listen for it. And I will end the benchmark right now. So now it is idle. I've ended the benchmark. Right now it's just, and Windows. And now we're about, again, 2 inches away. The one other important thing I will say, as it relates to a lot of noises, particularly the ones you see on YouTube, where you hear like this incredible whine, is the radiator positioning. So what you want to do, and I don't know if we can actually really see it, is you want to have the radiator's up here. You want to have the radiator above the video card. Air floats to the top, right? And you don't want it in the pump or in the loop at all. That is what tends to make the excessive noise you see on all those horror stories you read about online or on YouTube. Tend to be revolving around incorrect radiator positioning. So put the radiator up top if you can. So in this case, I obviously top mounted it here, but I probably could have put it in the back behind the CPU. I didn't, because I didn't want warm CPU air going into the radiator, but because those are above the video card, those would have been acceptable places. If you're mounting it horizontally, the tubes will come down kind of no matter what, so it's not a big deal. The air will float to the top. If you end up mounting it on the side, what you want to avoid is having the tubes come out the top, because that's where the air sits, right? So it's possible it'll get pumped through the lines back into the video card. What you want to do is have the orientation of the radiator where the lines come out the bottom. That's because the air will stay to the top. It doesn't have a chance to really get pumped through the bottom into the graphics card. Bottom mounts are not so good because if you have the radiator, right, if you have the radiator below the video card, this will be the highest point in the system, and the air will float to the top, and that would cause possible excessive pump noise because there's air circulating throughout the system. So for proper radiator install, you're going to want it up top. Hopefully this ended up being much longer than I expected. I apologize, but hopefully this addressed a lot of the questions around the hybrid card. Good luck in your purchasing decision. In my experience, I used to have an air-cooled card before this. This hybrid card is noticeably quieter, I should say, under load. The rig as a whole has quieted down since I've transitioned over to this setup, as the case itself, the internal case temps have lowered because I'm not, you know, spinning hot air, you know, inside the system and circulating hot air in the system. I'm actually spitting it out through the top as an exhaust. So that's just my experience. I think no matter which 1080 Ti you get, you'll be pretty darn happy. They're really impressive cards. But anyway, good luck with your purchasing decision.